Austin Riley is the Braves' best power hitter since Chipper Jones. So why do some people think he's still not for real? These questions answered and more on today's episode of Braves Cast. Yeah, Austin Riley, he is, I would say, our best pure hitter right now. Matt Olson might have an argument down the road, but it's funny because I feel like we haven't really had a homegrown pure power hitter for a while now. Like even Chipper Jones, I wouldn't really call him like a pure power hitter. Obviously, I mean, he was cranking like 40 homers a year during the height of the steroid era. But when I think of Chipper Jones, I think of him being more all around. But when I think of Austin,
the 3, 4, 5, 300, 400, 500 club that he's a part of.
yeah.
So definitely an on-base guy, and then just turned into slugging.
Yeah. So it's definitely been a while. Obviously, we signed some guys, but he's, I would say, top five. And real quick side note, just behind the scenes for our viewers, at this time of recording, we've recorded episodes on basically all the starters, on our first baseman, our second baseman, our shortstop, catcher, and every player I would say that we've talked about, minus maybe shortstop or fifth starter, is above average to good to even great. And I just want to take a moment here to appreciate how lucky we are at this time for being Braves fans. I mean, we might have mentioned this on a previous episode, but this is a powerful team. I mean, this is a team with not many weaknesses. And I'm going to say it feels good. It feels good to be in this position as a fan, especially one who, had to go through the Frank Wren era and the mid 2010s and having Julio Teheran be our number one starter for how many years. I mean, this is such a refreshing change of pace to be able to look at our team and our roster and say, like, wow, we are good. I mean, we're top five elite. I mean, we're contending for a World Series this year. Anyway, Austin Riley.
Austin Riley. What are your thoughts?
So we can just get into really the angle that I want to take in this episode. And, I go on the internet from time to time. And
just a little bit.
I see
we're
people,
not.
yeah, not
we're
chronically
not
on the
ever.
internet. Yeah. I haven't looked at my phone in like 5 seconds. It's a new record. And
Yeah, true.
one thing I've noticed is people inside and outside of Braves camp calling Austin Riley overrated. I know you have your thoughts on it, and we will get into in a second. But how would you? Obviously, these are nebulous phrases. Overrated, underrated. I mean, it's so hard to really determine the general consensus on someone. But where would you mentally rank Austin Riley? So let's say
I see him all the time on MLB rankings around 7th or 8th. Third basemen in Major League Baseball are stacked.
Yeah.
If you look at 8th place and we're talking about an elite third baseman, you might think that seems a bit low. But when you really start to think about Major League third baseman, Machado, Arenado, Devers, man, I can't even think of all of them who would come ahead. You start to look at Riley's numbers and you go, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. I think my concern, my issue with how Braves rate Austin Riley is nothing to do with how good Riley is. I think having Riley is outstanding. I think it simply comes down to defense. I don't think Austin Riley is a good defensive third baseman. Outs above average doesn't think Austin Riley is a good third baseman defensively. But now that Chip Caray is gone, I feel like the propaganda of Austin Riley, Gold Glove third baseman, will begin to die down. And at that point, I will truly believe that Austin Riley is a properly rated third baseman. And this is not a knock against Austin Riley. Having him as a third baseman, I mean, we went through Chris Johnson, Adonis Garcia, Johan Camargo, who had a great year in 2018. 1 year of Josh Donaldson was a great year, but he wasn't going to be the cornerstone third baseman. Just ask Yankee fans how they feel about Josh Donaldson, and we can be glad that AA didn't sign that 4-year contract. It's almost like, I don't know, Cole. It feels like someone, a baseball YouTuber, needs to make a video about replacing Chipper Jones. I just wish there was someone doing that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
I'm a phone a friend and see if I can have somebody make that video in the future. That would be cool. But yeah, I mean, you know, you go back to Josh Donaldson. He was great for us in 2019. And then you see the contract that he got from the Twins. Definitely did not live up to the value, in my opinion. Now he's kind of I would say, I don't want to say the word dead weight because that's just kind of an awful thing to say about somebody, but he has a dead weight contract on the Yankees. Unfortunately for them, not for us. And yeah, so Austin Riley, I'm just going to quickly go through I think all of our history with him, really just his history as a player with the Braves. He comes up in 2019, absolutely insane first 15 games. I mean, he's OPSing over 1,000. Obviously, it's the rabbit ball season. You know, how much of those numbers were inflated due to that? Plenty. I mean, there's a couple fly balls he hit that probably would have been outs in 2022 and on, if we are correct. So he comes out, and then it turns out he can't hit sliders at all. And so the league starts throwing him sliders. He saw 24% of the pitches that he saw in 2019 were sliders. Guess what he slugged against them?
212.
310. Still bad. Not as bad as you thought, but still very bad. And league catches up to him, find out he can't hit sliders, and he ends up not even making the postseason roster. He got injured too, so we also have to consider that as well. 2020 was a year that existed.
It's Cole's favorite year.
Major League Baseball was played that year.
He thinks that
I don't
anything that
remember
happened in 2020 is the most valid statistical thing that you can have.
Every GM ever, the first question they ask when they're being interviewed is, how do you value a player? And if they answer by looking at their 2020 stats, they get the job immediately.
Right away.
They don't even... Yeah, they literally throw the paper in their face. I mean, there's no follow-up question. It's like, dude, you understand analytics.
We know. We had to give it up to start this podcast.
Oh, man. So we get to 2021, and we're kind of confused because he was a first-round pick. I mean, this is a guy that, we did have high hopes for. I don't have his prospect rankings. I don't remember him being valued super high. I remember... Obviously, I wasn't super into the prospect game back then, but I feel like I would have seen his name if it was in the top 20.
Well, Keith Law hated Austin Riley. I do remember
I hate
that.
Keith Law.
He said Austin Riley has a slow swing that pitchers will exploit, and they did for a while.
They did.
Because he couldn't hit sliders because he was trying to catch up on fastballs. I think he was a top 100 prospect in some publications. Obviously not ESPN's. But he was definitely...
Keith Law, that's... Get fucked, Keith Law. Actually, does Keith Law... He writes for The Athletic now.
Does he?
Because
I think you're right.
Because I know Kylie McDaniel...
I think he was with
the
ESPN when
ESPN.
he published the Riley rankings.
Yeah,
but
get fucked. Anyway,
we only have 2 of those left before
we
get the censor.
Hey, at least we get some. At least we get a few.
Yeah, but he wasn't like a top 10 prospect for sure. But we get to 2021. He had been bad for pretty much a season and a half at that point.
Yeah. So,
And so I don't know where
and
you were, but when spring training 2021 started, I was ready to cut the bait on Austin Riley. I was like, the Braves are
wow.
going to give him a short chance. I don't think he's going to do
Well,
well.
because I'm
And
pretty
if
sure
you remember that
2021.
April, Austin Riley's April in 2021 was really bad. I don't think he had
Well,
an extra base
oh,
hit until the Yankee series.
yeah. So I was going to get into that. I have this pulled up right now. On April 18th, and this is, you know, 16 games. Not a huge sample, but, from what we saw the previous 1.5 years, his OPS was 534. And those who are uninformed, well, not informed, those who don't know what that means, that's bad. That's bad. A 750 is considered, I would say, most years kind of the average. I mean, it changes from year to year, but 534 is bad. I mean, if you don't offer anything else, which, no offense to Austin Riley, he doesn't. He's not fast. He's not not a good fielding third baseman. Your butt is in the kicker. And then there's that faithful Yankees series. I don't know if you remember that hit. It was actually a
Oh, I
joke. I
remember
remember.
it.
You remember that hit? The opposite. He gets jammed.
Just
He,
a little blooper. Like he doesn't hit it well at all. I remember thinking, oh, now people are gonna think he's turning the corner. I'm gonna hear announcers say Austin Riley went the other way. He's turning a corner, and they're gonna look too much into like a 77 mile an hour exit velocity, little doink hit the
but
other way.
but guess what?
Uh, I was wrong.
He
I was
did.
very wrong. I was
The
very
rest
very
of the
wrong.
season, I'm gonna say, after that Cubs series into the Yankee series, his OPS was 929. He hit all 33 of his homers that year. After that series, 106. Oh man, 106 RBI. Ended up finishing the year, hitting 303, batting 303 with a 367 OBP, 531 slugging, 898 OPS, all MVP like numbers, I would say. If he provided anything else, but neither here nor there. We can get into the Austin Riley MVP conversation. And ever since then, he's been, I would say, our best hitter for the last 2 years, safely.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely feel like it's taken me a little longer than most Braves fans to really believe in Austin Riley. I think in
Well,
2021, going into the season, like I was saying, I was ready to kind of move on from Austin, really. And then this is why I'm not in a front office. But that first stretch against the Yankee, or the first stretch in April until the Yankee series, he was scuffling. I was ready to send his ass back to Gwinnett, to try someone new. He catches fire. He ends the season incredible as a hitter. But I think because he had 2019 and 2020 not being very good, it was in the back of my head. Oh, he just kind of got hot. Pitchers are gonna adjust, and that's gonna be it. And I don't. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it was until this July 2022 where I was like, okay, Mitchell, you gotta let the Austin Riley of 2019 and 2020 go. This man is one of the Braves' best hitters. And
yeah,
then
and
he got that extension.
yeah, and speaking of that July, his, I know I keep using the word OPS. That's the thing. Like for a hitter, it's the easiest stat for me to use. Obviously, there's more, but just his OPS in that July was 1.344 in July of 2022. Absolutely insane. I was looking at, I couldn't find on StatHead, I couldn't find like specifically for the month July, but it was the 21st. Well, let me see. Yeah, 21st best OPS in the span of 25 games. That's just the query that I did. So we're talking the same company as Chipper Jones, Javi Lopez, Ryan Klesko, Henry. Like these aren't bums. These aren't your everyday flukes. I mean, he put up insane numbers that year. And we can talk about the fact that he did slump afterwards. I know that ruined the party. That I think that spoiled the month for a lot of fans. I'm not too worried about it.
I'm not worried. I was a convert after July, so I can't go back on that conversion so quickly.
Yeah, and obviously the Braves can't let it spoil what he did because, like you said, they signed him to a 10-year, $212 million extension. I believe it was the biggest contract given out by the Braves in our
beat the Olsen
long history
contract from a few years earlier. I mean, it would have been kind of wild if the Braves were given Rabbit Martinville a 10-year, $300 million contract in 1914.
Yeah. Inflation, we all know too well, but even then, bigger than the Olsen contract, bigger than a contract we would have given to Dansby. I mean, actually, bigger than the Dansby contract, I believe, the one that the Cubs gave him, too. Yeah, that was like 177, I believe.
7 years, 177 to the Cubs.
I mean, obviously, different age, but bigger than the Freeman contract, too. I mean, this is...
do you have the jar out?
I was just thinking it is out of range. I would have
still got to drop it in.
Yeah, it'll be...
For those who missed it, we have a swear jar, and every time we say the name, we drop it in.
Every time we
didn't expect that in the third baseman episode, but he was a third baseman for a good 7 games.
Yeah, I was at the first game. It was bizarre. That will definitely be a footnote in the Chipper replacement video. Whoever makes that,
sure.
I'll make sure I let them know to include it.
So,
So yeah, I mean, with those talks, I think it is fair to say his game is one-sided. When we're talking about the third baseman today, there is like an elite crop. Nolan Arenado, Manny Machado. I was about to say Eugenio Suarez. What the Matt Chapman. No, but there is an elite crop, and I think Austin Riley is barely outside looking in on them. I think it's just because his defense. I don't think his defense, just eye test, I don't think his defense is terrible. And it is going to be interesting to see how it plays into this year. Because just with how the game,
which third baseman we have been completely forgetting?
Brian Anderson. Who?
We have forgot him. J-Ram.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Your cool friend's favorite player.
Yeah.
Jose Ramirez.
I can't believe.
It's like the way to tell if somebody's like a weirdo baseball nerd. You ask them their favorite player, and if they say Jose Ramirez, you're like, yeah, you're a nerd.
The thing this is derailing the Riley talks, but the thing I love about Jose Ramirez is that he steals bases and he's fast. It just looks like a guy, John Boyce, what's his name, Beef Tank, up in the sliders, and you get J-Ram. That's what J-Ram looks like to me.
Yeah,
he's just short, a little chubby, and he's super quick.
No offense to him, he does not look like a fast guy, but
blows my mind every time.
But who doesn't look fast and also is not fast is Austin Riley. So that's the thing.
Have you checked sprint speed?
Oh God, what am I going to find out? He's not. You can't convince me he's fast. I don't care what sprint speed says. He's not like Matt Olson. I think you got to check
sprint speed.
Oh no,
you're gonna be kind of shocked here.
Wow, 60.
Yeah.
1 percentile or percentile 61st percentile. Wow, that is There has to be like one outlier there. There has to be like one day where he
One day he was like at 33 feet per second.
yeah, exactly. Like he
Just-
just beasted it in warm ups. Like he had a really good stretching day, and that was like the outlier. It's like without that, he would be like 50th percentile, which I would say seems more.
I did an article for House That Hank Built about the bigger bases to see if like Braves players could benefit. And Austin Riley, who has 2 career steals, I think he was technically faster than Albies last year. Are you looking at the team chart? I'm pretty
not
sure he
looking at the
came
team
in
chart.
above.
I'm
I think
looking
he
at
came
his,
above Albies.
I'm in the sheet right now. I'm looking at his 2021. It was 69th percentile.
I
Jesus,
think
because like when I think of like slow players, like Austin Riley is one of the first people I think of. Like he just doesn't. Not and no offense to him,
Okay.
he's a big beefy dude. I mean he just doesn't.
so.
look
Yeah,
fast.
Austin Riley's 27.8 feet per second was zero point 0.1 feet per second slower than Robbie Grossman and Adam Duvall. It was 0. 0.1 feet per second faster than Vaughn Grissom. It was 0. 0.3 feet per second faster than Ozzy Albies. And of
Jeez.
course, I mean, Orlando Arcia is super slow, but he's
I-
a middle infielder, so we'll throw him in
would-
there too. He's a foot and 1.3 feet faster than Orlando Arcia.
I would be interested to see how, when you get into the minutia, like how each play affects it, because you have some guys who, I'm not trying to like call anybody out, but like some guys who, if it's a slow grounder, or if it's like an obvious ground out, like they're not gonna sprint it out.
It's
They're not
the
gonna try
definitely
to
so
beat
you
it.
know it's like the top 2/3 of sprint speed. So they're trying to eliminate those grounders, but
Those outliers.
we
yeah.
both watch games.
'Cause-
You know how much Ozzy rolls over to the second baseman.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a
'Cause
perfect
also-
method.
Because also there's bolts too as well, which I think are, I would say are more accurate. But obviously, again, there's just some players who play into that kind of style. So that's crazy to me. I literally, if you were to just ask me like off the cuff, giving no indication like where he would, I would say like 35th percentile. Not catcher slow, but like one of the slower for third basemen, which third
I do
basemen
think
aren't
he
known
has
for
the
being particularly
the
fast.
Adam Duvall kind of deal going on where Duvall I think you and I both know Duvall is fast, but Duvall is not going to steal bases.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's just something about they can get to a top speed that's fairly fast, but
Yeah.
they don't get to it quickly.
Yeah.
So they can run
Top
fast,
speed's
but it
good.
takes them a while.
Acceleration is up for question, but the top
Right,
speed,
but
it's like a truck.
I
you
think
know?
that's what's going
Like
on.
this-
I mean,
Yeah, they
Yeah.
can get fat. Like you can go pretty fast in a truck with a nice Hemi V8, but it's gonna take you a minute. So fast engine and a big body. That's so
Yeah.
crazy to me though.
so now that we've blown your
Um,
mind there,
Yeah, I'm trying. Trying to think like what else. We talked about is he for real? Yes. I think we had a bias because he did struggle so mightily in 2019 and the beginning.
and I think
like
that's
the
just
way beginning of
being a
2021.
young fan.
Yeah,
We're not from an era where players struggle at the major league level anymore. I mean, in 2018, we saw guys our age come up and battle it out for rookie of the year. You know,
Yeah.
Albies really didn't struggle. Dansby did, but he never really.
But you have to remember, like young players are allowed to be bad. I know
Yeah,
everybody's anticipating Jared Kelenic on the Mariners this year because he was a hyped up prospect who just has not lived up to his status the last 2 years.
2 years.
And it's one of those things that even if he does have a good year this year, I think a lot of people are still going to doubt how viable it is. It's the, I don't want to say recency bias, but it's like long-term bias. We saw.
and Kelnick was much worse than Riley was when Riley came up.
But we saw bad Riley a lot longer for a lot longer period of time. And then when we started seeing good Riley, we're like, this seems like the fluke. Like, this seems like the anomaly, when really it was more the other way around, in my opinion, at least. And I honestly think, and we can start getting to like kind of the over-unders and whatnot. I think he's going to hit more homers than Matt Olson this year. I think that's a given. I think he's going to be the best hitter on the team. Does that mean he's going to be the best player? No, because we have a team full of dynamic players. But, he's kind of your prototypical number 3, number 4. He'll probably slot in, I would say, number... Oh, man, I'm like completely forgetting the Braves batting orders last year. Was he your 4? Was Matt Olson 3? Because I know it's weird.
So Matt Olson started the season at 2, but he ended up sliding all the way down to like 5th or 6th by the end of the season. So it was Ronnie, Dansby, Austin. I feel like Travis d'Arnaud had a bunch of games at cleanup. And then... Wow, I'm blanking out too.
Yeah,
so
right?
It was,
I'm going through our roster.
I think Olson was 5th.
Michael Harris was 9. I remember that.
Harris was 9 for the longest time.
Yeah.
It made no sense.
I liked him being at 9 in like a really weird way. It's like, oh, we just have one of our best hitters like in the 9 spot.
I love having a better hitter at 9th than 8th because it does really turn over the lineup. But at a point, he got too good for the 9th spot.
Yeah.
It was like Arcia, Albies in like the 7th or 8th spot. And then, the corner left fielder, DH, whoever those were. I think those were
combination
6,
of
7.
Yeah.
A bunch of players. But yeah, one more thing I have to add, I think, to the Riley thing is that I forget players can learn. I think, Harris came up, made an instant adjustment, and, he still needs to stop chasing, but he's got so many other tools that he'll be pretty good. Ronnie came up, he made an adjustment that first season. Braves love that certain batting stance. They love the guys holding their bats straight up. I would love to know what that is, but
I was gonna say because we talked about how Austin Riley or how Braves players fit like an archetype of sit fastball in the zone and just pound the hell out of it. I think Austin Riley fits that stereotype or archetype the best. Like he is, I would say, the prototypical Braves hitter. Like he is their model.
Yeah. And yeah, I think Riley he took a lot longer to learn than I'm used to players taking. And this is just being spoiled, I feel like. Yeah. But Riley, I think, is one of the best learners on the team. Like he's very dedicated to making adjustments. That's why I feel like the Braves were willing to give him the biggest contract in team history. It's not that they saw his July and went, ooh, that's good. But they'd worked with him for, 4 seasons and watched that development and know that he'll make the adjustment.
Speaking of that development, if we want to go full circle here, I mentioned his slugging against the slider in 2019. It was dastardly. It was downright not fun to look at. We go to 2022. His slugging against the slider was .510. If you slug that throughout the course of a season, you are an all-star. I mean, you are a valuable player for your team. He did that against sliders, a pitch he formerly struggled upon. And I think watching him hit is a very beautiful thing because it's like his pitch recognition right out of the hand is elite. I mean, it reminds me a little of Barry Bonds. I don't think Riley has exactly the mechanics of Barry Bonds. I don't think Barry Bonds is a mythical figure.
When Austin Riley has a 609 on base.
Yeah, like I'm not saying he's Barry Bonds. I'm not saying, just because you shot Jesse James don't make you Jesse James. I'm just saying, like, the way he's able to, right out of the pitcher's hand, identify what pitch he's about to get. He's a very smart hitter. He is, I would just say, like, one of the smartest hitters on the team. It reminds me of Barry Bonds. Just his approach. Again, to do what Barry Bonds did is almost impossible. I'm not saying that that's what he's going to do, but he's and that's something you didn't see him do in 2019. I mean, that's something that he learned. He obviously is a physically gifted dude. I mean, if you see him in person, he is huge. He's a strong man, and that's definitely what got him up through high school, the Brave system, to the major leagues, and then he realized there's more to this game than just being physically gifted. And in the last 4 years, he was able to apply all of that and become one of the most well-rounded. I won't say well-rounded, but like one of the best power hitters in the game.
You're over under
most well-rounded, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make my over/under not as boring. I know I've been mentioning OPS.
You want to do outs above average?
Oh God, let me just look at his previous. Well, I guess most of the over/unders we've been doing have been like rate based. So, oh God, yeah, you do it. You do it though.
Okay. I think. Let's see. What was his outs above average last year? I know at one point I looked and it was -8, and I gasped.
-7 between first and third. I forgot he played first at all. 5 attempts.
He's our backup first baseman.
Yeah, I guess they don't really have one like a true. We need like a good old utility player. I mean, I guess we have Orlando Arcia, but I miss Charlie Culberson. That's who I miss. I wish we had Charlie Culberson back.
I'm actually excited about Yuri Adrianza. That guy's studying to get a master's degree, so I'm kind of stoked that we have that on the team.
That was cool.
So yeah, outs above average, over under -3.
Oh, like under, yeah. He could, you know what? I think defense, like, it is something especially if Ron Washington is your defensive guru, that is something you can improve on, but I'm going to say under. It's going to be interesting to see. We haven't really talked about how the effective banning of the shift is going to play into these guys, like their defense. Third base would technically is the least affected, but it is going to be interesting to see how that affects
for sure.
all of our guys.
I'm going to make a bold prediction, and I'm going to say even on the -3.
Even? Get the push.
I'm thinking Austin Riley defensive breakout season 2023.
Oh, yeah. The season Chip Carey leaves, he becomes now
that Chip Carey's gone, he's not going to have a guy always saying, "Oh, Gold Glove third baseman." He's going to feel offended. He's going to be hurt by it. He's going to think this new guy doesn't think I'm a Gold Glover. I'm going to show him, and he's going to go out. And he's not going to win the Gold Glove, but he's going to be worth -3.
We're going to play the Cardinals, and Chip Carey's like, that Austin Riley, he's good, but he's no Nolan Arenado at third. And it's
I don't know.
Spark.
Sometimes Chip Carey does not recognize defensive game. It'd be hilarious if he goes to St. Louis, watches Arenado, and goes, "Yeah, but he's no Austin Riley."
He would lose his job. I would like make sure he loses his job. I'm a Chip Carey defender. I'm gonna miss Chip Carey a lot. Maybe some sort of Stockholm syndrome. Maybe we see the new guy. Is it Ben Ingram? Is he? Then do we announce?
No. It's Brandon. What's his name?
Spencer Strider.
Brandon Gaudin.
Okay. Maybe I see what it looks like. Because I mean, I don't know. Like I know Chip Carey gets a lot of hate. This is a tangent. We can end this episode now. But I know Chip Carey gets a lot of hate. I grew up with him. I mean, he was the voice in my mom's house and all of my apartments. I mean, maybe it's Stockholm syndrome. And once I see what it's like having another announcer, I'm going to realize and wake up to the fact that
feel like
Chip Carey wasn't that great. But
I love hearing Chip call the big plays, but every time I'm like, I don't know how I feel. I go and look up that play call from
cheesy.
The Twins playoff game where he goes, line drive, base hit, caught there, throw.
Yeah.
And then I go, yes, he's not a great.
He's cheesy too. Like I'll give him that, but I like the fact that he's a cornball. I appreciate that about them. You know, he comes from a family of announcers. It's funny because it's like through every generation, it seems like each announcer gets less and less personality. You know, you have Harry Carey, who was, I mean,
Yeah.
Will Ferrell played him on SNL. I mean, he was just like an icon. I know Skip Carey was very opinionated. Very
Skip
brash.
Carey had the voice I feel like everybody impersonated. They had
Yeah.
the, and
And they have-
now
Yeah, and then Chip Carey is just kind of a cornball.
He's
Like he's just
whatever.
kind of
Yeah.
he's kind of cheesy. You know, he's just a goofy guy. But he's definitely what's the word? I remember they're having the night with the Native American appreciation. It was like so uncomfortable because like Chip Carey just like had no idea like what questions. I mean, obviously an intern or somebody gave him a list of questions, but it's like once he blew through those, he had like no idea like what to say. He just there's so many like hearing him talk about Marcelo Zuna. You know, oh, we really need to get this guy going. I mean, every time I used to take a shot every time I heard him say that. So we'll see. You know, I didn't think this would turn into a improv Chip Carey bashing session, but here we
we'll
are.
just end the podcast like 3 minutes ago before we get into this, and then we can post this.
Nah, that's what the
as its
people
own
want to
little
see.
Dealio.
I'm going to end it here because I also didn't announce the song, so they are going to have to hear this, and then we can move on. All right, the song. So Austin, Austin, Texas. One of my favorite bands is from Austin, Texas. And You Will Know Us by The Trail of the Dead. Great band. Recommend checking them out. Their best song, their most popular song, is How Near, How Far. Because how freaking far can that man hit the ball? Man, he can hit some tanks. So that's what I got. The song has nothing to do with hitting tanks, but the title just... I did this very last minute.
Okay.
All right.
You know what's funny? The episode's over. I'll tell you the funny thing after, and people can
All
just
right.
wonder.
Cool. I'm
All right,
going to
bye.
go ahead and just...